This is Gemara Baba Basra, Daf Kuf Samach Gimel. I'm holding in the very bottom of Kuf Samach Beis Amid Beis, and today's shir should be an incredible zchos. Rafua Shalema for Tinoik ben Miriam Ahuva B'siyat Shemaya. The Koyach HaTaira should continue showing us its incredible power as a complete Rafua Shalema. Emir Hashem should be had B'Karayv for Tinoik ben Miriam Ahuva. We're holding on the last line of Kuf Samach Beis Amid Beis. Ibai Eloho asks the Gemara, Shnei Shitin Sha'amru. The two lines that when the Chachamim said, if there's two lines between the shtar and the signatures, that's what makes a document possible. Those two lines. Ask the Gemara as we turn over to Kuf Samach Gimel Amid Aleph, Hein V'Aviran. How do we calculate those two lines? Does it include the two lines and the space between the lines, or without the space? As the top Rashbam speaks out, Shir Ksivas Hashitin Va'avir Cholok Bein Taim, the blank space between them, Nifsal, that's when it's possible, Aval, however, Pachos Mikein Nifsal. Or perhaps no. Says the Gemara, Amarav Nachmin Bar Yitzchak Nishtavra. The Hein Va'aviran has to be the two lines and the airspace in between. Why? Because if you're going to think Hein V'Loyaviran, if you're going to tell me it's without the airspace, Shita Achas V'Loyavira L'Maichazya. So then, according to the other Shita, if the Girsa Shita Achas, then one line without the airspace, what is that going to do for you? Well, Shema Mina, Ein Va'aviran, Shema Mina. So the Rashbam points out over here that the Girsa is so he gets rid of the word Shita Achas B'lay Avira. The Rashbam spells out if it's not going to have the airspace between the two lines and they shtup in words, it's going to be recognizable that it was forged. Why? Because you're going to have to write smaller letters to fit it in. To write the two lines and have some space. So says the Gemara, must be that if we're saying two lines, it's two lines with the airspace, because if not, it would be very recognizable, readily apparent that the document was shtar. Continues the Gemara, what's the precise size? 5 lines down, Kusamach Gimel Amid Aleph. Rav Shabtai Amar Mishrei de Chizkiya, Shnei Shidim Sha'amru B'chsav Yidei Eidem Eloi B'chsav Yidei Seif. The two lines that we are referring to is the size of the Eidim's writing, which the Mefarshim, the Rashbam here points out, this is going to be a larger writing. It's Yoiser Michdei Shir Yidei Sefer. Because again, the whole issue is a Ziyov, you have to account for the one who's going to write it. My time, lovely Sefer, says the Gemara, no one goes to the Sefer to be Mizayiv, to falsify the document, and therefore, for that is the concern, there has to be a larger space that there could potentially be a Ziyov of forgery. Vikama. It says the Gemara, and how much space is that? Amar Rav Yitzchak ben Elazar kigoyin leich leich ze al gav ze. Enough space that you have two words, leich leich, which of course are the largest words, largest in height, because you have the lamed that goes up, the chaf that goes down. So you have to have enough space, one on top of another. That's going to be the case. That's going to be the potential ziyuf that they could forge in such an area. So when the Gemara says two lines with a space in between, it's two lines of the larger Eidim writing with, including the additional large letters of Lamed and Chaf. Says the Gemara, Al Makasavra, we see from over here, Sheishidin Va'arba Avira in. So we're getting deeper and deeper. We started off the day asking, are the two lines including the airspace between the lines? The Gemara now is teaching us that in reality there are 4 airspaces, because you have to have the top airspace to the top of the chaf, the bottom airspace to the bottom of the chaf, the top airspace to the top of the lam, and the bottom airspace to the bottom of the chaf. Rav Chia bar Ami mishmei de'ula amar ki on lamin milmala v'chaf milmata. A second shita says Rav Chia bar Ami mishmei de'ula, not that we have to account for a lamid on top of a chaf, which is going to have, a lamid on top of a lamid with chafs, which is 4 airspace, but rather a lamid on a chaf. Alma Kasavar, so we see what is he holds. He holds you don't need 4 airspaces, but rather Shnei Shitin Vishleisha Avirin, because you need to have the top of the lam at the bottom of the chaf. The next line, he's not holding you put a lam there, just a chaf, so just the bottom of the chaf. Shita number 2. Shita number 3, Rav Avua Amar Kion Baruch ben Levi b'shita achas. So what does he account for? Because shita achas ushnei avirin, just 2 airspaces for the fact that you have the lamid and the chaf. So 3 different shitais. What is the precise size? Again, we already extended the size to include the larger handwriting of the edim. Now the Gemara says it's not just 2 lines with 1 little airspace in between. It's either 4 airspaces, 3 airspaces, or 2 airspaces. Says the Gemara, let's go back to a document that was mikuyam, that had the certification of the Bezdin. The certification of a Bezdin, of course, is referred to as a henpick, as we've seen and as we will see further. Amar Rav, la yishanu. We did not learn that 2 lines, pasal ashtar, ella bein edim lechtab. That's the space between the edim and the writing of the shtar. Aval bein edim la'asharta. But if there's a space between the edim signatures and the asharta, the kiyam of the bezdin, the henpick, afilu tuva nami kosher. Even if there is more space, it is still kosher. Asks the Gemara the obvious kasha that everyone right now is wondering, why? What's the difference? Why between the edim and the ksav do we not want to have blank space? Because we have to be worried he's going to add something in the chatimi tadi, and the edim will then sign. So ask the Gemara the same concern. Why are we not worried? He's going to add something in my by that which he wants. And then the witnesses have already signed. So why are we not concerned to have any blank space at the bottom of such a document? Says the Gemara, you know what Rav meant? Dimitayit lay. We're talking about a case where the cipher inked in. He blocked in the blank space, and therefore I don't care how much space there is, because it's not space that one could write upon. Asks the Gemara, Yachi ben edim l'shtar nami mitayit. What do you mean? If you can just scribble in the shtar to make sure that no one can write there, why don't we do the same thing between the edim and the shtar? Says the Gemara, Amri, the reason is asude atiyuta udachasimi. The reason is, if it would be marked off, the shtar would be puzzle. Why? Because people are going to say that the edim, you know what they're signing on? They're signing on the scribble, because their signatures are right under the scribble. But people are going to say that they're not signing on the actual shtar. Says the Gemara, okay, so why is it not the same concern? If between the edim and the kiyam of the bezdin there's this scribble, why don't we say, you know what the kiyam of the bezdin is? Not on the etzim shtar, but just on the scribble. Answers the Gemara, 4 lines from the bottom, that is not a concern. Bezdin would never certify just the inking in of a space, therefore we don't have to be concerned of such. But continues the Gemara, why are we now worried that I'll cut off the top of the shtar and erase the scribble? And now what does he have? He has a document with a chasima, a kiyam of bezdin on it, with a whole blank area that he erased. Now he can write whatever he wants. And now he can write whatever he wants and allow the Eidim to sign. And there's already a Kima Bezdin on it. If there's a shtar and there's text on it and the signatures are on it, even though it's signed al ha-mechek, it is kosher. So asks the Gemara, very good that you're scribbling in the blank area in order that no one could potentially forge it. But wait, why are we not worried they're going to cut off the top half? And Nachamo, they're able to forge this document. Says the Gemara, as we turn over to Amid Beis, Anichal Rav Kahana Demasila Mishmei de Shmuel Shap. According to Rav Kahana, who learned this din, according to Shmuel, then Shapir, then it's good. There's no kasha. Why? Because Rav would hold such a document is possible, and therefore there's no stirab to allow the blank space between the signatures and the kiyum. Elam. Before we go weiter, let's just see the top Rashbam for a moment who spells out the Shita. The Rav Kahana Demasni Lahaduhu Veitav Ala Mechik Mishmei de Shmuel. Iklamim to Rav Avi Pasov Loitik Skashi LeRav. It's not a stira in Rav. LeRav Tivyumi Demasla Mishmei de Rav. So if it's Mishmei de Shmuel, then there's no stira. It's one's Rav and one's Shmuel. But if we're Masni Mishmei de Rav, then Ma'ikal Meimar. Then we have a stira. Says the Gemara, so what are we going to have to answer? Kasavar kol ki gavna. Any scenario as such, if we have a document that has an erased area, on the erased area there are eidim. On such a document, ein mikayim min aisai min asharta sheboi ela min aidim sheboi. Such a document, we would not be mikayim, we would not certify it from the certification. Usually you bring your shtar into Bezdin if there's a handpick, if Bezdin affixed its signature, its seal to the document, that itself is the kiyum. But says the Gemara, we're going to have to say according to Rav that that's not the case. That if such a scenario, that is an erased part of the document, and then there's signatures, and then there's text on the erased part of the document, that we're only going to be Mekayim with the Eidim, not with the Kiyum, and then we'll obviously find out what exactly is going on over here. Says the Gemara, Rav Yechanan Amar. Says Rav Yechanan is coming to argue on the whole premise of the whole beginning of the shir. The beginning of the shir was you're allowed to have two lines between the shtar and the eidim, but says Rav Yechanan, no. Excuse me, the second part between the eidim and the kiyum, we said it's good. Rav Yechanan says no. You could have blank space. On the bottom of the document, afilu shita achas. Possible. If there's even one line of blank space between the eidim and the kiyum, it is possible. My Shana asks the Gemara, why is this ben eidim lasharta? Why are we saying you can only have even one line is possible? Because we have to be worried of the concern that we just said. We have to be worried. He'll cut off the tab because of achas, and then he'll write on that one line. He will write the eidim on the one line of whatever he writes. Because Savar Shtara Bohu Eidim Shita Achas is going to be kasha. But says the Gemara, if this is true, Bein Eidim Lechtav Nami Dom Guys Leiloloi because by the boy Vechatimi Saadi, and therefore why are we not worried about that? So why is he being mechalik that between the Eidim and the Shtar could have two lines, but between the Kiyum and the Shtar you can only have one line? So answers the Gemara, there's a fundamental difference. Kasavar Kshav Yechanan holds Shtar Abba Hu B'Shita Achas Ve'Eidim B'Shita Acheres. Then anytime we have a shtar that we have the text on one line, the eidim on another line, then it's going to be possible, and therefore one line of space between the eidim and the shtar would be fine. But one line of space between the eidim and the kiyum would not be fine. And finally, we conclude. Says the Gemara, wait. Why are we now worried? You just told me I'll write it on separate lines. Maybe I'll write it on the same line. As we've seen already, there's always this concern that you just will have extra eidim on a shtar. And if we're makayim it from the eidim on the top, then the Eidim will certainly know what's going on over here because they did not sign such a document before it was cut off, etc., etc. Therefore, there'll be no concern according to Rav Yochanan, and that's why he's machalik between the space between the Eidim and the Shtar, and between the Kiyam and the Shtar. Pick it up from here, B'siyata Dishmaya.